Hello and welcome to Take This TV, the television book club podcast where each week we watch an episode or two of our favorite shows and we talk about them with our friends in the fandom. That is you. I'm Carmen and I'm joined as always by the amazing Kimberly Woods. Hello.
Hello, hot potatoes.
This season we're watching Three Body Problem.
And today we're on episode 5. It's called Judgment Day.
Mm.
The description? As threat levels rise, a secret mission to retrieve enemy intel ventures into dangerous territory. An ominous message reaches Earth.
This episode is buck wild.
Yep.
But
And if you haven't watched up to episode 5, pause, go watch, come back. We'll be here waiting.
welcome back. Hello. Thank you for joining us. So, off the jump, I gotta say, when they first were introducing Augie's research, I was like, it has to be some kind of way they can weaponize this against the aliens, right? This is not what I imagined.
What? You didn't imagine them using it on their own people?
No, I did not imagine them essentially creating like this mesh that just freaking. You ever see that Resident Evil movie, the one with Mila Jovovich or whatever from like the 2000s, where like the laser grid just like cuts that guy in half and he falls into pieces like tuna? Like, ugh. What a horrible way to die.
It was horrifying. I remember in the book being horrified, but it was mostly like an outside perspective. It was mostly pretty much like Augie's perspective in a way, like seeing the ship, but not getting Mike Evans inside the ship. So like this was even more like to be inside the ship while it was happening and to see it like start going through like the little paper dolls on the side and then like hit that lady.
Oh, when he was talking to the lady. Oh yeah.
Like, oh
I was
my God,
like, oh, run.
it's like, get flat.
Well, it seemed like there was.
God.
It cut the whole ship. There were no survivors. Even little kids got murked, and I was like, "Dang!" Well, hold on.
And also,
Okay.
Carmen, like in the book, there's this conversation about, well, should we do it at night or during the day? Like maybe if people are sleeping, there might be a chance because they're like flat that they evade this like slicing. But you know, and then they decide like let's do it when people are up. Because it's like what is happening? So here, like clearly everybody's up, yeah, and it's just horrifying. Like these kids playing, the way that things are like breaking down and like catching on fire and like crumbling.
Okay,
it's just horrible.
It's not a secret that Augie is my least favorite character. And there's that scene where she's talking to Commander Strongjaw, whatever his name is, the guy that's Jen's boyfriend. And
Raj?
Yeah, Raj,
Yeah.
Commander Strongjaw. So, so she's talking to him, and she's like, "You don't even know these people. Like they could be anybody. You don't know their names, so you're just gonna agree to kill them because somebody told you so." And I was like, "You are a grown person." Not only a grown person, you were an executive at a corporation. Like, you have no idea how the world works. What do you think soldiers do? They kill people. That's their whole job, is to kill people. Like, what? Just because they dress it up when all the marketing and stuff about the army, like that's his whole gig, is to kill people. And so I was like, Augie, you're the dumbest smart person. You continue to be the dumbest smart person I know. But like, and even the like Onion Knight's character, he was like, he had a moment of pause talking about the kids, but then he was like, everybody's got to go because they radicalize the kids and it's their parents' fault or something like that. He tried to justify it. But seeing it happen, I was like, oh, man, this is hardcore. This is absolutely really hardcore. So,
I think it's interesting how they set Raj up because we haven't seen much of him this season, but the scene we did see was the one around the dinner table when his father was talking about being in the army and how, he had to blow up people with a grenade and he got supplies to protect his own people. And now it's like, Raj is facing the same thing, having to like blow up people. slice people, in order to get this intel, this hard drive. So it's like, oof. Yeah, he comes from this family where that was prized. Obviously, like you're saying, he's in the military, but also like his father received the highest honor for doing something like he's about to do.
Yeah. He had to do what's necessary to protect people or whatever. But like, man, I that was wild. I also think that like looking at the perspective of Mike Evans and the folks on the ship and stuff, like we get the moment where he's lying to everybody, being like, "Oh, you know, it's all part of our Lord's plan." And the guy that we saw in the server room, I forget his name. It doesn't matter because he got sliced up. But he's like telling Mike Evans, like, people put on a face when you're around, but like people are getting nervous. And he's like, "No, our Lords will protect us." But even in his final moments, you know, Mike, he's like begging for forgiveness from the Lords because he sees that he's been forsaken. And I was like, dang, that's brutal, man.
I also think it's interesting that they're setting up this idea of, in a sense, of like free will, right?
Mm.
Because you have Augie contemplating, like, we knew Vera forever. How do we know that she didn't kind of manipulate what we were doing? And not just Vera, but Win Jay. I think they said like she was like dear old auntie.
Oh
And now
yeah,
they
Jen
found
said
out
that.
she's the
Yeah.
head of this organization, and now they're like questioning, you know, their decisions. Like, what was her decision and her influence versus my own? And also, like, for Augie, when she goes to use this nanotech and start up the computer again, her countdown does not come back. And so
Mm.
there's this question of like, why isn't the countdown back? And then Dashi's like, the Lord stopped protecting its flock. And so it's like, okay, so you're doing this thing, and yes, it's relief your countdown's gone, but like at the same time, why are they letting you do this? Like, that's a big like, you know, like you should be questioning like, why do they now want you to have this powerful thing? And like,
Yeah.
here you go. You're using it against your own people. But again, it's like, is that their will? It seems like it is because it was a horrible thing that happened with science.
My first thought when Augie was able to complete her research, I was like, oh, so the Santi for them, they're like it's on site now. Like it's like before there was like, oh, there's this tenseness, and like maybe they're trying to work with the cult to try to work out some peaceful solution. But honestly, it's really Mike's fault because he messed up and and let them know that the humans have the capacity to lie and that it and essentially made them feel like they should be afraid of humanity. And then we get that great scene where I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Well, actually, before we jump ahead to the other thing, I just want to make a quick note of like the like I don't know if this is like what they're setting up, but the Augie Dashi ship. I'm not I'm not about that.
Wait,
I'm
that's
when
a
you
ship?
no, I'm just saying like that was it seemed like because she hugs him after she finished her research or whatever. She's really emotional, and then there's like that moment where they're kind of like locking eyes. I
Oh,
was like,
I
no,
didn't
like
register that. Maybe I just didn't
what?
want to.
Okay, I
Because I'm
just
not on board that ship.
yeah, like no, thank you.
Yeah, no. No. Just no. But what were you
No.
gonna say? You're gonna jump ahead
Oh yeah.
to what?
So what is the Onion Knight's character? What is what is his name in
Thomas.
this?
Thomas
Thomas.
Wade.
Thomas Wade.
Yep.
So when Thomas Wade and Jen go into Three Body or the game, and they meet with, I guess, the version, the avatar of the Santi in the game. There's that moment where Thomas is like, "What do you actually look like?" And the avatar says, "You wouldn't like it." And I was like, "They're not human. Well, they're not humanoid." So, which I guess is like to aliens is some weird thing to say, but
You
Baldur's
would
Gate
like
3 has
it.
me thinking weird about the word humanoid because it lays out. But anyway, I'm really interested to see if they ever actually show the Santi. Do you get an
Yeah.
idea of what they look like in the books?
Mhm.
You do? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
So
curious
I
to see.
won't say. But yeah, that whole reveal in the end is a little wild with the Sofans.
Oh,
And it seems like maybe this lady is the Sofan itself. I mean, she's a representative of the Santi, but also, like, the Sofan?
oh, snap.
I
I
thi
didn't think
yeah.
about that. Yeah.
Which is, like, terrifying to think, like, "Okay, great, they sent this, like, supercomputer basically, like, folded up, and now it's, like, unfolding to its full potential." Like,
Oh
to
my
me, that's
gosh.
even terrifying, like, "Wait, what is happening? You, like, sent this thing that's super evolved here now, Santi? What? Aren't you
Wait, because
scared of
like
it?" I'm
you
confused.
pointed out a few episodes ago that her voice is the same voice that Mike was talking to. So
Uh-huh.
that means, oh, okay. So that, because that's how she was able to communicate instantaneously with Mike, because she is the Sofons. Oh man, I didn't put that together. I just, my mind is blown in real time. Um, that was absolutely wild. Essentially, it's like a computer, but it's also like a living organism,
Mhm.
and it exists
Y
in a, because there's more than three dimensions. They were, the Santi were saying.
Yeah, it's like a proton that's been, like, folded in on itself
Hmm.
over and over with multi dimensions, and then it can unfold to all its dimensions.
Yeah, which is absolutely wild. Which I will say though, by the way, because I called it. I called it in the first episode or whatever episode it was when the stars blinked. I was like, it's gonna be some hand wavy BS of like, oh, they faked it or whatever. I kind of wish. I mean, we got aliens, we got space travel, we got some weird particle that's in 10 dimensions. Just let the stars blink on and off. It's fine. You don't have to hand wave it as like space magic. Like I thought that was kind of lame, but I mean, like the fact that like the I'm so excited. I forgot what it's called. This is Sofan,
Sofan? Yeah.
Sofan. It wraps itself around the planet, and
Yeah.
then you see this eye in the sky,
Yeah.
and it makes me think about, just like, not regardless of the Santi, like the implications that would have in human society, because there's so many religions and there's so many like different groups of people or whatever, and some people are like, oh, God's not real and things aren't real or whatever. If there was like, if if there was like 100% proof that like there's some kind of thing that's real, I feel like people would be wilding out. Like there was, our society would completely erupt and like things would change and people would be freaking out. And so like
Yep.
the fact that there's like a giant eyeball in the sky, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's gonna happen. Um,
Cigarette girl was amazed.
she was loving it. Her crusty lips and everything. She's just like, oh yeah, our lords, witness me. Everybody else in the
Oh
streets like,
my
ah, and she's like, yes, they've come.
god. It's like because in the book, like you're saying, it's like part of this trick, but they don't really explain necessarily how it was the trick. But like the Sofan being wrapped around the earth and then like being like going to be obscure and then translucent to do
Mhm.
the blink is like so weird and so cool.
It is cool. I like, well, because they, when the Santis say essentially like, if it takes us, it's going to take us 400 years to get there, and by the time we get there, because of how fast your species is advancing, you'll be more advanced than us, so you're a threat. Which like, I feel like I never thought about it like that, and it like explains why they were trying to radicalize Mike Evans and this group of people to essentially be their advocates, because it's like, well, if they can show up and be equal, well, be welcomed by this more advanced civilization, they can essentially integrate themselves. But now it's like they see that they wouldn't be accepted, and so they're trying to get out in front of it and destroy us while they have the technological advantage. And I was like, oh man, like I
Yeah.
just like, I was so impressed by that, because I was like, man, I didn't even pick up on that at all.
I didn't think about that either. Or the
Hmm.
fact that because they'd be traveling, they wouldn't be like evolving either,
Oh yeah, I guess
you
so.
know?
Road trip.
Yeah. But then it also, like, it's like, okay, this explains, like, why they were able to see everything from the beginning as well. Also, it explains, like, why the science was already going bad. And they don't explain it here, but, like, in the book, it says they literally send the Sofans to, like, the particle accelerators, like, wherever they are, so that they can get in there and, like, disrupt the readings that the physicists are trying to, like, get from their equations and, you know, experiments. And that's why Vera has, like, lost hope or given up because it's like her work and her meaning and her life's work does not make sense anymore and she can't. So that's why the science has gone bad.
Mm-hmm. So the Santi essentially plan to destroy our science, and that's how they plan to essentially halt our civilization from advancing, so that they can conquer us, I guess. But I mean, I feel like they gave up the game a little bit, just like in terms of like their plan, because it's like, well, now the humans know, well, at least two of the humans know uh,
Yeah.
what their whole plan is, and so I guess in that regards, if I was Thomas Wade or Jen, I would feel in danger of like I'm a loose end now because I know the truth, and if they spread that information, then people could still be a threat. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm really curious to see what's going to happen next because I do like that about this show that like every
Yeah.
episode ends and I'm like, wait, what? Like, how is there going to be more after this? What's going to happen? So I love that it
Yeah.
keeps you on the edge of your seat like that.
How do you think we'll win against this Santi or against these Sofans? I don't know. Because they might start being separate problems. I don't know.
I mean, well, my first thought was like, okay, if the Sofons can't be destroyed because it's like a state of matter or whatever, then but it has sentience, then maybe that means it has will, and so maybe there's an opportunity for like forming some kind of connection or alliance or bond with it. um so yeah, I don't know, I think that there's probably some kind of way to, because I mean, like, is it subjugated by the Santi, and like is there a way that the humans could offer it freedom, or yeah, so I don't know, I think that that could be interesting. I'm sure there'll
Yeah.
probably be some kind of way to destroy it or something like that, so we'll
I
see.
also think it's interesting that again the Santi have said they can't lie. That they're,
Oh
pretty
yeah.
much once they say something that's the truth of it. And they also don't understand the stories at all. They've clearly learned metaphor and stuff like that because they're saying bugs now, which they didn't understand at first, and then because Mike Evans explained it, they said, "I understand." But, yeah, I feel like it's gonna be something with humans being clever and having innuendo in their language or using stories
Oh
and still
yeah.
working on science somehow. I don't know, I'm excited. Right? Because wait, sorry, I wanna also bring up, like, we saw fairy tale books, right? Didn't Jack or somebody have one in his little stash when they were going through his stuff? And so I feel
Oh,
like
I
they
don't
keep kinda
remember.
pointing that out a little bit, and so I'm like, "I feel like this is gonna be important."
I don't know. I'm interested to see.
Yeah,
Oh, there
me
was
too.
that the other scene where oh man, is it Matt? Is that his name?
Matt.
The
Which
friend
one
who's
which one's
sick,
that?
who has cancer.
Is that Will?
Oh, Will. Sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
his name's Will. Um, so essentially, somebody from Jack's estate comes and they're like, "Hey, he's leaving you half of his fortune or whatever." And what's his face? Saul, is that his name? The other guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't been around as much, so names aren't sticking. But so Saul's like, "Oh, you should sign it," and he's like, "I'm like Saul, like, can you try to be a person for 1 second and just not like?" He's like, "Oh, you should sign it," because he essentially wants to have the benefits of like having a really rich friend or whatever. But
Yeah.
I'm still curious how Will, and like now that he's has Jack's fortune, how that's going to come into play, because I
Mhm.
feel like there's something there of like um maybe Will's cancer or like his research or stuff that he was teaching before is going to help them figure out some kind of way to deal with the situation. So I don't
Mhm.
know what it's going to be though.
Yeah. I don't know. Didn't they also say when the reason they brought Jen, to the lab was because she knows about different dimensions or multi-dimensions?
Hmm.
But I
Yeah,
feel like then
Thomas
she
Wade.
didn't really get to, like, explain it. They just kinda
No,
jumped into 3 body again, and it was explained by the Sylvan.
it felt like something that like it's like, oh, this is a thing from the book, and we don't have time to explain it, so we're moving on. That's what it felt like, and I was just like, okay, whatever.
Well, I can't wait to see what happens next. Thank you all so much for joining us. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a review, send us a comment. You can follow us on the socials at Take This TV on Instagram and TikTok. And remember, it's dangerous to watch TV alone.